Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. So today we're going to be looking at something a little different.
Oh.
Yeah, so we've got this collection of excerpts, and they're kind of like letters
Okay.
to a younger self,
Oh, cool.
full of like life lessons and advice and personal stories and that kind of thing.
It's so interesting, right? Like all the things that we learn along the way.
Yeah.
Like you think about all the things that you would tell your younger self knowing what you know now.
Exactly. And that's what's so cool about these excerpts,
Yeah.
is they really dive into like fear and discomfort and purpose and like all these universal things
We all struggle with.
we all struggle with. Yeah.
At some point.
So we'll be unpacking like all these different concepts. Like there's something called the 22-second rule.
Okay.
There's like this thing about the power of disgust, which is kind of an interesting concept.
Yeah.
And then this whole idea of playing the long game.
I like that.
Yeah. And as we go, I want you to think about like what advice would you give
Yeah.
to your younger
Oh,
self?
totally.
Knowing what you know now.
It really makes you think about like what wisdom you've accumulated and like what experiences have really shaped your perspective.
100%. Okay, so let's dive into the first theme, which is like this idea of having the courage to just start,
Okay.
even when it's scary.
That's huge.
Yeah, and the author tells this story about struggling to record videos
Oh, yeah.
early on, like when he was first starting out, and he had this realization that he needed to practice how you play.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
That's so important.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's like instead of waiting for the perfect conditions,
Right.
just embracing the process, and knowing that consistent action builds momentum.
Absolutely.
It's like those small, consistent actions over time lead to big results.
Totally. And it reminds me of that Brene Brown quote, courage starts with showing up and letting ourselves be seen.
Oh, yeah.
Like that willingness to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Put yourself out there, even when you feel uncertain.
That's often seen as a weakness, but it's actually such a strength. It takes a lot of courage to be vulnerable, especially when you're afraid of what other people are going to think of you.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so now here's where it gets kind of interesting.
Okay.
This concept of the 22-second rule.
What is that?
So the author describes this this thing he does where he adds 22 seconds
Okay.
to every treadmill workout.
Interesting.
And it like evolved into this whole philosophy for him.
So it's like this idea of marginal gains,
Yeah.
pushing beyond our perceived limits,
Yeah,
even by a small margin, can lead to significant growth over time.
totally. And it's like compound interest, but for personal development.
I love that.
Right.
Like an investment.
Yeah, exactly. And it makes you wonder, where in your life could you apply the 22-second rule?
Mm-hmm.
Could it be like an extra few minutes of focused work?
Yeah.
Or a difficult conversation you've been putting off? Or even just like holding a plank for a few seconds longer?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like all those little pushes can add up
Totally.
to significant change.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that sometimes that push comes from like an unexpected place.
Okay.
Like disgust.
What?
Yeah, so the author describes this time where he was like, he felt disgusted with himself after lying to a Girl Scout about why he couldn't buy cookies.
Oh, wow.
And that moment like became a turning point for him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So he's saying that disgust isn't always bad.
Right. It's not always negative.
Okay.
It can be like a signal for change,
Hmm.
like a catalyst for positive action.
Okay, so it's like our inner voice saying, hey, this isn't aligned with who you want to be.
Exactly.
Right.
It's like a wake-up call.
Right.
It prompts us to look at our choices and make sure they're reflecting our values.
That's a powerful question.
Yeah.
It makes me think about areas in my own life where I feel that sense of discontent.
Oh, interesting.
Like maybe that's a sign that something needs to shift.
Yeah, totally. It's like, what are those feelings trying to tell us? What changes might we need to make?
Yeah. And when it comes to making big changes, the author emphasizes this idea of playing the long game,
Okay.
right? So that means like sacrificing short-term wins for long-term fulfillment.
Hmm.
And he talks about this time where he had to pivot his business
Okay.
because it just wasn't aligned with his core values.
Wow.
And he had to like walk away from what looked successful on paper
Yeah.
to pursue something more meaningful.
That's huge.
It is, right?
It's so bold, but it just highlights how important it is to make sure that our actions are aligned with our purpose.
Yeah.
It's about playing a game that you actually want to win,
Mm-hmm.
even if it means letting go of something that's not serving you anymore.
It takes a lot of courage to walk away from something that's not fulfilling,
It does.
even if it looks good from the outside.
For sure, it's about asking yourself what truly matters to me.
Yeah.
What kind of impact do I want to have?
And how do my current actions reflect those values?
Right, are they leading me towards the life that I envision for myself?
Totally.
Okay.
So this leads us to this final point for this section, which is this idea of the paradox of growth.
Okay.
And the author keeps highlighting these like seemingly contradictory ideas,
Like what?
like freedom through discipline,
Oh, yeah.
strength through vulnerability, peace through chaos.
It's fascinating how growth often comes from like the unexpected.
Totally.
It's about leaning into discomfort and recognizing that those challenges can be like huge opportunities for transformation.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is how these paradoxes challenge like conventional thinking.
Right.
They make us reconsider what we believe about growth and how it unfolds.
It's about embracing like the full spectrum of the human experience, the good, the bad, the difficult,
Yeah.
and recognizing that even those difficult moments can lead to valuable lessons and unexpected growth.
Totally. So this leads us to a question for you.
Okay.
What challenges in your life might actually be opportunities for growth in disguise? Hold on to that thought as we move on to the next section.
Sure.
Picking up on this whole discomfort and growth thing,
Yeah.
the author talks about like facing fears head on.
Oh, yeah.
And he talks about like the early days of his podcast and like all those moments filled with self-doubt and, you know, just wanting to procrastinate.
Totally. It's so relatable.
Yeah.
Like when fear just paralyzes you.
Totally. And he describes like wanting to just shut down his laptop and be like, nope, not today.
Oh, yeah. Been there.
Yeah. And then, but then he talks about like how he found a way to shift his mindset.
Oh, wow.
So instead of asking, can this be done today?
Okay.
He would ask himself, how do I execute this to the best of my ability?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's subtle but powerful.
Yeah, it's like taking ownership of the process.
Yeah.
Focusing on what you can control
Right?
rather than getting bogged down by like fear or doubt.
100%. And he even talks about like completing his best half marathon while battling the flu.
Wow.
Like he could have easily used that as an excuse to just quit,
Totally.
but he like chose to reframe the challenge.
That's resilience right there.
It is.
Training our minds to show up,
Yeah.
especially when we don't feel like it.
Yeah.
Finding that inner strength to push through obstacles.
And it ties back to that practice how you play concept.
Right.
By consistently showing up for ourselves, even when it's tough,
Yeah,
we build like a foundation for success.
absolutely. It creates that positive feedback loop.
Yeah.
The more we push ourselves, the more confident we become, and the more capable we feel of tackling like even bigger challenges.
Slowly.
It's like building a muscle, but for our minds.
I love that. Okay, so this leads to the author's connection between showing up and courage.
Okay.
And he references Brene Brown again
Oh, yeah.
with that quote, courage starts with showing up and letting ourselves be seen.
That willingness to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
To put our ideas and ourselves out there,
Yeah.
even when we're afraid of judgment or failure.
And there's this great anecdote where he's walking down the street and it just hits him. Like everything around him, the buildings, the songs, the books, like it all started as ideas
Wow.
in someone's mind.
It's a profound realization
It is.
that we have the power to create and contribute to the world in meaningful ways.
Yeah,
And it all starts with that initial spark of courage to take action.
totally. And he compares like the creative process
Yeah.
to like stepping into blank space.
Oh.
Like an artist facing a canvas.
Okay.
And it takes self-belief to like fill that void
Totally.
to bring our unique perspectives and talents to life.
Self-belief is essential,
Yeah,
but it's not enough on its own right. It also takes courage to persevere,
yeah.
to push through self-doubt and keep creating even when things get tough.
And he tells this story about being in Las Vegas with a business partner.
Okay.
And they're standing on this balcony overlooking the city.
Wow.
And they're just like struck by the magnitude of human creation and the courage it took to build it all.
It's inspiring, isn't it?
It is.
Thinking about all the people who dared to dream big and take action on their ideas.
Totally.
Like, what are we capable of achieving when we tap into that same courage?
And sometimes that courage involves like reevaluating our path
Yeah,
and making adjustments.
absolutely. Speaking of adjustments, the author shares this very personal story about feeling misaligned with his work.
Oh, yeah.
He talks about achieving success, but it came at the cost of his passion and authenticity.
Yeah, he describes feeling like a stranger in his own body,
Wow.
living a life that wasn't truly his own.
That's tough.
It is.
Yeah.
And this realization led him to step back from that path and like realign with his core values.
That's powerful.
It is, right?
It's a reminder that success without fulfillment is ultimately meaningless. He
Yeah.
was chasing external markers of success,
Mm.
but it led him away from the work that truly lit him up storytelling.
Exactly. And that disconnect impacted his motivation.
Yeah.
He talks about like losing that drive to push for the extra 22 seconds
Oh, wow.
because he felt so misaligned.
That makes sense when we're not passionate about what we're doing. Even small acts of pushing ourselves can feel pointless.
Totally. It's like our inner compass is telling us we're headed in the wrong direction.
Exactly. It's a sign that we need to reevaluate our goals and make sure we're pursuing the things that truly matter to us.
And he has this like really important realization that lack of motivation often stems not from a lack of ability,
Okay.
but from a lack of alignment.
Oh, that's good.
Right.
It's about making sure our goals and actions are in harmony with our true selves.
Exactly. And it's a profound insight.
It is.
It challenges us to like look inward and ask ourselves some tough questions.
Like what?
Are we making excuses?
Yeah.
Are we avoiding challenges?
Yeah.
Could it be that we're simply not pursuing the right things?
Those are good questions to consider.
Yeah, and he reminds us that we all have incredible resilience within us.
Yeah.
We've all overcome challenges in the past.
We have.
We've pushed beyond what we thought possible.
Yeah, for sure.
It's about like tapping back into that inner strength
Totally.
and using it to create a life that is truly fulfilling.
I like that.
And he encourages us to like pursue our goals with that same level of commitment and passion,
Yeah.
to find that purpose that like ignites our souls
Right.
and pushes us to go further than we ever thought possible.
I love that.
And it's not just about like grand achievements.
Okay.
It's about like those daily choices,
Yeah.
those moments of like pushing for those extra 22 seconds
Right.
that ultimately shape our lives.
It's about recognizing that our limitations are often self-imposed
Totally.
and that we have the power to break free from those constraints and create a life that reflects who we are and what we value.
This section really highlights the power of aligning our actions with our purpose.
Yeah.
Like when we're clear on what we want and why we want it,
Right.
the motivation to push beyond our limits naturally follows.
It's about playing a game we're truly passionate about. A game where even the discomfort and the challenges feel worthwhile because they're moving us closer to something meaningful.
Totally. Now in the next section, we're going to explore some of those like seemingly contradictory ideas
Okay.
that fuel personal growth.
Sounds good.
The author dives into like this paradoxical nature of our journeys,
Interesting.
where discomfort often leads to the greatest rewards.
Can't wait.
All right, so let's dig into these paradoxes a little bit,
Okay.
especially this idea that discomfort often leads to growth.
Right.
So the author uses this example of like discipline
Okay.
leading to freedom,
Interesting.
which on the surface sounds kind of counterintuitive.
It does, yeah. But I guess when you think about it, it's like those choices that we make
Yeah.
in the present that create more options for the future.
Okay.
Like the discipline of saving money.
Yeah.
You know, in the moment, you might feel limited,
Right.
but ultimately it gives you more freedom down the line.
Totally. It's like delaying gratification
Yes.
for a bigger payout. Makes you think of those marshmallow experiments
Yes.
with kids.
Totally.
Right.
Or think about developing a skill
Oh, yeah.
or
yeah.
mastering a craft.
Okay.
It takes consistent effort,
Yeah.
and you're going to hit moments of frustration, self-doubt.
Totally.
But the reward is that freedom to express yourself creatively,
Right.
to contribute something meaningful to the world.
Because you put in the work.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so he also highlights this paradox of strength
Okay.
arising from vulnerability,
Oh, yeah.
which is something that we've heard Brene Brown talk about a lot.
Totally.
Right.
It's about having the courage to be authentic,
Yes.
even when it feels risky.
Even when it feels really scary.
Yeah.
Right.
Like embracing our imperfections,
Yeah.
letting ourselves be seen,
Totally.
even when we feel less than perfect.
100%.
And you think about it, often those moments of vulnerability
Yeah.
are when we create the deepest connections
Yeah.
and experience the most personal growth.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay, so then he explores this idea of finding peace
Okay.
through chaos,
Interesting.
which is essentially like accepting that life is unpredictable
Yeah.
and challenges will come.
Mm.
It's not if, it's when.
Right. And as we navigate those challenges and we face those moments of chaos, we build resilience,
Yeah.
inner strength.
It's like a muscle that gets stronger through use.
Exactly. And he points to this concept of post-traumatic growth,
Oh, yeah.
where people experience incredible transformation after enduring difficult experiences.
Yeah, it really shows like the human spirit's ability
Yeah,
to find meaning and purpose,
totally.
even in the face of adversity.
It's so inspiring.
It is. I think we all know someone who's like gone through something truly tough
For sure.
and come out the other side strong
Yeah.
with a new perspective.
Totally. And he also references the work of Jordan Peterson,
Oh, yeah.
who emphasizes the interplay of chaos and order.
Okay.
We need both.
Okay.
The structure of order and the unexpectedness of chaos are like essential
The way.
to fully experiencing life and reaching our potential.
So too much order can lead to stagnation.
Right, like we're stuck in a rut,
Uh-huh.
and then too much chaos can be overwhelming and destructive.
Right.
It's about finding that balance.
Finding that sweet spot.
Exactly. Think about your own life. Haven't those periods of chaos often led to your most significant growth?
Yeah, it's like the saying, smooth seas never made a skilled sailor.
Exactly. And he connects this to Tony Robbins' concept of needing both certainty and uncertainty.
Oh, yeah.
We need routine and predictability,
Right.
but we also need the excitement of new challenges,
Right.
stepping outside our comfort zone.
Totally.
It's that balance that keeps us engaged and growing.
So this whole discussion about paradox, I think, really highlights the importance of perspective.
Yeah.
Like what might seem negative or challenging
Yeah,
can actually be a catalyst
for sure.
for profound growth and transformation.
It reminds me of that quote, "The obstacle is the way." It's not about avoiding challenges, but about seeing them as opportunities for learning and growth.
So the author encourages us to embrace the full spectrum of human experience.
Yeah.
The highs, the lows, the clarity, the confusion, like it's all part of the journey.
It is.
And it's those seemingly contradictory experiences that shape us
Totally.
and lead us to where we need to be.
And even during those challenging times,
Yeah.
it's important to find gratitude.
Yeah.
Like, what can we learn?
Yeah.
What opportunities are hidden within those difficult moments?
It's about like reframing our perspective.
Right.
Instead of asking, why is this happening to me?
Yeah.
You can ask, what can I learn from this?
Love that.
He shares this analogy of like life being a roller coaster,
Okay.
right? And it's filled with ups and downs, twists and turns.
Yeah.
And some people just fixate on like the drops and the dips,
Yeah.
but others like appreciate the full experience,
Right.
right? And those moments of descent are essential
Totally.
to the thrill.
It's embracing the entire ride,
Yeah,
knowing that those moments of discomfort are temporary.
right. Something amazing might be waiting at the top of the next hill.
Exactly.
And just like a roller coaster, life is going to have its ups and downs.
Yeah.
It's how we choose to ride them that matters.
That's so true.
This deep dive has been incredible.
It has.
Exploring like the power of embracing discomfort
Yeah.
and pushing beyond our limits and trusting our intuition.
I love those themes.
Yeah, what stands out to you?
I think just this reminder that growth often comes from unexpected places.
Yeah,
The moments that challenge us to step outside our comfort zones
yeah,
and embrace like the full experience of being human.
absolutely. So as we wrap up, we leave you with this.
Yeah.
What's one area in your life where you can intentionally lean into discomfort this week? Where can you push for those extra 22 seconds?
Good question.
And remember, in those moments of challenge, we often discover our greatest strength
Yeah.
and create the most meaningful change.
That's a great takeaway.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.